If you're thinking that you want to take that action step, why wait? Book your session right now. Go to liberateyourself.com, click on either Liberate Hollywood or Liberate Emporium, see our amazing practitioners and who resonates most with you. And then book a session via Skype, phone, or in person. We're here for you, and it's your time to start creating your life.
For centuries, mankind has been fascinated with realms outside of our conscious awareness. Through a series of interviews with practitioners, guest speakers, and experts, Liberate the Podcast covers all that and more. From health and holistic healing to the supernatural, we aim to educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. Today we have an interesting topic and amazing guest joining us. Her name is Rochelle, and she's been practicing and teaching Orgasmic Meditation. And, we're really going to dive into exactly what that is and all of the healing properties around that and the transformation that people go through. And I'm also very curious on her journey and how she got into this practice and this teaching. And so, Rochelle, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to tell the audience maybe a little bit about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, hi, thank you. It's so good to be here. Orgasmic meditation. Well, I'll tell you my journey. I'm from Colorado originally. Grew up in the mountains. Very earthy and spiritual, and doing a lot of different types of work of transformational stuff for a very, very long time. And I was a massage therapist and a yoga teacher, and I got into nutrition coaching and just really always very interested in the body and transformation and going deeper with the human experience. And then basically, I would say about 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I was living in Virginia. So I grew up in Colorado, but I moved to Virginia. I was there. I had 45 acres I'd bought with a partner. We had built a house. It was a gorgeous house, and I had a home-based business, and things were going really, really well. It was like one of those things where your life on paper looked really, really good. And it was good. It was like every day I was really grateful. There was, beautiful, this partner that I had, and my land and the business, everything was actually really beautiful. But there was a place where I just kept feeling like a deeper voice was so I'm missing something. And our relationship was good. We were good friends, but our sex wasn't very alive. It was, we watched movies pretty much every night as it just to come down. And I was doing a program actually at the time for women around their bodies and their relationship with their bodies. So that transformation of how to actually love your body to the level of how to eat better and take better care of it from that, versus so many people wanting to change and fix from it being a problem and them not liking the way that they feel. And so through that, I'd kind of run myself down, getting my business off the ground and everything. And so I was doing the program myself, and in doing so, in getting getting people to look at the different aspects of sensation in their bodies, I was doing my own program, and I had this real, very deep, spontaneous wake up of it was my sex woke up in my body, and I with my partner, it was like, basically I'm like, oh, we're gonna have the best sex of our lives, you know, like this is just this energy is alive and it's awake and it wants to be met and used and explored, and my partner just wasn't actually available for it, and there was this part of me that just was like, I know I have to follow this, and I didn't know where that was going to bring me or what it was saying in my life, but there was something about sexuality that felt like that was my next area of going really deep and exploring. And so I ended up leaving at that point, which was like, it was a pretty radical shift of like leaving a partner of 4 years, this land,
house, business.
Like, yes, exactly. Like everything I had built and created and put my heart and soul into for the last 4 years, I left within a month of this wake up. And so it was a very fast transition and just call. And I ended up in California. It was like the deeper voice was like LA, which made no sense to me coming from Colorado and Virginia, where I'm in the mountains and like nature girl and everything like that. And it was just like, LA, that doesn't make any sense. But I followed that. And it was a period of letting go, because it was just like, it was like a deeper level of surrender and trust that I was doing something that didn't make any sense to my mind.
Yeah, and it sounds like very courageous too. I mean, you allowed yourself to listen to your higher self.
Yeah.
And to make transformations in your life, not only to shift dynamics and leave relationships, but also to move across country, you know, like to a place that never even was on your map before.
Right. Totally. Yes, exactly. So, and you know, in doing so, it was like, I risked a lot also of like losing my house and things like that. But it was just like, I just knew that I had to follow this. And I actually started studying Tantra for a while, and I found that I just, like, I couldn't actually relax and surrender into those containers, like not having a partner that I was doing that work with, and being in different exercises, not knowing what the exercises were, like breathing and all of these things. And there was when I heard of Orgasmic Meditation, I knew I was drawn to like the sexuality thing, but it kind of freaked me out, to be honest. At first, I was just like, I don't know, these, you know, because it's a 15-minute partnered practice. I guess I should define what orgasmic meditation is. So orgasmic meditation is a 15-minute partnered practice where a stroker will stroke the upper left quadrant of a woman's clitoris completely goallessly for 15 minutes, and both practitioners are focused on that point of contact and everything that they feel sensation-wise in their body as they're stroking.
Okay.
And so through this, it's, you know, it's just like any practice where you get to really meet yourself and who you are in the practice. And so you know, this element of it being a meditation where your attention and focus is on one point and sensations, as well as it including the genitals. I mean, I was just like, what is this? You know, it's like a partnered practice. And there are people who are practitioners of this work. It's like, certainly people are in relationship and they can practice together and everything, but there is also just people who partner and do this practice. And so at first that was just like, this doesn't make any sense, you know?
So is this like, I'm gonna just stop you for a second, because maybe some people have heard of like sex surrogates. Have you heard of that? So it can be prescribed by a therapist to have a partner that is just for the purpose of overcoming traumas and stuff within sexual abuse, and they're called these sex surrogates. And so people practice different types of things with no emotional connection to their partner, but based on just healing and overcoming and allowing their self to receive or be touched, or to overcome some of the fears that might be with intimacy that they have. So when you're explaining this is something that pops up into my head, which maybe some of the people listening, and so it sounds like it's kind of like along the similarity lines, but it's this meditation practice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the sense of like whatever like there's blocks and things like that in our systems and our psyches and our physical, and there's an opportunity in the practice of like really being able to feel and open different locations through time. However, I would say the difference is it's a partnered practice, and each person in the partnership is of their own practice.
Okay.
So it's not like the stroker is in any way serving or healing or being it's a facilitator of it. Mm-hmm. They are there just as much for their own practice and what they cultivate in that connection, as well as the strokey receiving. And so it's one of those things that at first it's like one of our biggest questions is what's in it for the guy or what's in it for the stroker. And in our culture, we have so men are cut off from their feelings and women are cut off from their sex, and that's a broad statement. It's not like true across the board or anything like that, but it's more of a conditioned experience. It's like men are supposed to be stoic and women are nurturers or like take care of, and so there's not a place where like that level of reception for a woman is the place to be really cultivated and experienced, and then and really just acknowledge the hunger, mm-hmm. like the actual woman's appetite, like how hungry we are mm-hmm. for this, for our sex to be open and alive and our orgasm to be awake. And so, to have that, and then for men, to really be able to touch into this quality of this ability to feel, wakes up through like in being in connection with a woman's orgasm. And so to feel her orgasm and know like stroke by stroke, like how do you play this like an instrument, and be that in tune with it. It's just like, just like a musician is like following this deeper, orchestra of like what comes out. It's just like that with orgasm, is like how to do that. And so, I think it's an amazing wake up tool for both practitioners, and like I find it's just so amazing to watch the strokers just realize like, and the proof is really very evident by our community being it's equal of men and women. It's very strongly like both people, both genders are really gravitate towards this practice. And so the benefits are on both sides.
Nice.
In that way, yeah.
Well, it's teaching awareness, one-pointedness, that, it's, as you said, you've studied Tantra, so, being into that moment and that stillness, it sounds like, and then I'm sure that there's tremendous healing for both. And
yeah.
Maybe you can get into a little bit of the benefits of this, practice.
Yeah, I mean, it really is... it really is a practice of consciousness, connection, wake up. We're learning how to turn the lights on and be lit up and be turned on. It's like the Dalai Lama had said about the Western women. What was the? Do you know that quote?
No.
The Western women it will change the world. And Nicole Daedone, who's the founder of One Taste. She talked about turned on women will change the world. It's like when a person is turned on, you can do no wrong, and when a person is turned off, everything is wrong. Everything is a complaint. And so it's like, how do we actually switch our own lights on so that we can be a gift and contribution and coming from full in our lives? And, it's like there's nothing worse than like being depleted and just trying to give and give and give, and then you just get resentful and like the weight of the world is on you, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and I would even take it a step further, since I look at everything through the lens of spirituality and energy and direction. It's like, even in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, one of the founding recipes for success that was written in this iconic, masterpiece was that there's nothing better than a fully sexed man. And of course, this book studied, he went out and studied, all the richest men and their successes for years. And at that point in that society, women weren't really in those positions. But that he went on to say that there's nothing more powerful than sex energy, because sex energy is openness and creative, and allows for people to tap into their creative realms and their thought process in a way that their brain doesn't normally operate. And there's other stimulants that can get there, but with side effects like drugs and alcohol and other things like that. But that sex energy, when contained and actually harvested for a channel of creativity and not just drained out, because of course there's a misuse of sex energy. But women, and hearing that statement about the Dalai Lama and the different notions, is, for such a long time, women haven't had that ability, or haven't been into that position of seeing the power of that, the sacrifice, the limitation, the not tapped into that energy. And now you have women running and ruling the world, and a need for more creative expression. And not that we didn't always need it, but this is where the power lies.
Yeah, well, and it's taboo, and that's what's like so it's so crazy about it. It's just like something so because it's so powerful, it's so deeply powerful, and so like anything that's powerful, it's like it has there's a lot of fear attached to that. And so it's like to actually how to wake that up and move through the taboos that we have in culture. Like, how do we have orgasm be like a household? It's like that's one Taste's missions, is really having it be that Orgasmic Meditation, the acronym is OM. And so like OM, yoga, meditation, like they're all, you can have orgasm named in something that is across the board, like known, that for the benefits of it. And so we actually are we have scientific, some researchers have decided to study OM, and they've gotten IRB approved, which is the Board of Research. It's a really big deal, because it's the first ever sexuality practice that was, the board approved to do this research on both partners. And so the strokee is being, their brain is being tested, as well as the stroker. And they've just begun the studies, but they're already seeing like the brain research of like how both people's brains get lit up in this, and so and how they're syncing up. And so I'm really curious as to how the research will confirm what we've already been experiencing viscerally and understand. But that kind of research is really important to really show the deeper level of benefits and importance of actually turning this on.
Okay. And so let's take a couple steps back. Who, you said it's kind of everybody, male, female, gay, straight, it doesn't matter, our participants in this, but who do you find is the most drawn to this work, and who do you think most needs this work?
That's a good question. I mean, the cool thing about this is orgasm is so universal. It's just, it's that it doesn't exclude any category. It just, by nature, it doesn't. It's like, it is the deep, innate, source that we all have, and sexual desire and all of this. And so the people who are drawn to this work are, cross gender, cross culture, cross, all of these different categories, like age and everything. And so I find, it's like, it definitely is people who are wanting to go deeper and understand themselves, and have connection. And so it's like, oftentimes I would say that people are, like, there's a lot of very, very sensitive people that are drawn to the work. It's, it's a place of, like, I think that a lot of, there's people who feel like they've just never belonged or never understood or not like misfits or something like that, where it's just like, well, that's what I was missing. I was missing human connection, this real thing, like this substance that is not, it's just, it's like, I feel like there's so many different levels of conversation out there in the world, and like there's people who are like, none of this makes sense. I want something that actually touches my soul, like that I can feel. And so when the conversation kind of switches, and where people can meet human to human in ways that are vulnerable and real, and they get to find out who they truly are and bring more of that person out, I think people are just hungry for that. So who benefits? It's really everyone, and yet it's like, you have to want that deeper thing.
Now, what is kind of like the process? So it's this 15-minute kind of experience, and is there different levels to this? Are there different types of meditation that are done, or is it only this one that you've described? Does it take it into different realms and different, and then also on that. For this, if I look at it, if there is different realms and levels, if this is like the beginner realm or the starting point, how long does somebody stay at that point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I would say it is a lifelong practice in a certain way. So the practice itself is the foundation of the work that we do, and there's one practice. It's always 15 minutes. It has a certain container to it. There's steps to doing the practice. There's the stroking, upstrokes, downstroke. There's a set thing for the practice, and that's always the same. And then there's principles of the practice, and with the principles of the practice, it's like there's a place where you're stroking, and maybe you're doing upstrokes, and it's like you hit a peak, and a peak is like this high, this highest level of sensation, and if you keep stroking that same thing, it's going to start to get flat, or like it's not going to feel as good. And so you want to change the stroke before that, like you want to change it. Just like in business, it's like, so Apple puts out a product, and it's like gets this really, like everyone's really excited about it, and it goes on a peak, and then you want to change what we call change the stroke, in order to keep that electricity and that connection alive. And so it's that same thing where you're changing the stroke, and so these principles apply in in your life in all of these different ways. And I think that that's really a lifelong journey too. And so the way that we do that is like, we have the practice, which anyone can do, anyone can learn. We have online resources and classes for it. We also have in-person, which I definitely recommend. If you can make it to in-person course to learn it, you'll get the deepest level of the transmission of what's possible. And then from there, we have people who will privately for the rest of their lives or for a period of time or anything like that. And then we also have deeper levels of the work that we do that you can go very, very deep as a practitioner of this work and the philosophy and the principles of it. And so we, anywhere from like local courses that we teach, desire and healing and relationship, men's and women's courses, to we have a whole coaching program, which is a 7-month program where people can come and like go very, very deep into their own patterns and conditions and the things that have them blocked and not seen or not not have their full expression of who they are out. We're just like buried in a lot of different things. And so how can we take off the layers? We talk about this path being descendant in nature in a certain way, where it's more about taking the layers off to have the true essence of the person, like who they truly are, be at the core once everything is stripped away, instead of like building ourselves up in a certain way. And so, that program is like a very deep dive program for people in connection to have that experience. We usually have 150 people in the coaching program at a time, doing this deep dive immersion into like really what's possible.
Nice. And that in-person workshop or lecture course that you were saying, what does that entail? Is that
the day long to learn the practice?
Yeah.
In the morning.
So it's a day?
Yeah, it's a whole day. I know if you it's
so
funny. It's really funny
hours?
because it's like 8 hours at least. It's funny because like people are like, wow, to learn a 15-minute practice, a day-long course? I don't understand. Like there's 12 steps to this. You can just tell them the 12 steps and they can do the practice, and that's totally true. We have like on our website, we show the steps to people can just do the but there's a certain thing that we're actually transmitting.
Okay.
And so we create a whole day experience for people to viscerally feel what we talk about when we're talking about this quality of orgasm and feeling of orgasm. Like we talk about orgasm 1.0 versus orgasm 2.0, which is like we just put the names on that to describe like what we mean by orgasm is like, we're not talking a climax based orgasm in the common definition of it. And so, a climax would be just, an orgasm in that is like, it's like that more linear, you're going towards that peak experience where it's like that's the highest level of sensation, and then you pop and go over, and then the sensation drops down, and that's climax. And where we're talking about orgasm, we're talking about every level and layer of sensation that you feel. That is the orgasmic energy. It's a very different, definition in that sense. It's feminine. It's like the feeling of going to that peak and then going down, and like the gritty, sexy nature of the downstrokes versus like the high, cosmic experience of like upstrokes, where you're just really tuning into that feeling of orgasm. And so in our day-long class, like we create a whole experience for people to get the feeling of what it's like to be that awake and feeling those levels of sensation. And we're not even doing the practice in the class. It's literally through, the transmission that we have where, like we bring out people, like we will have people go around the room and just say simply what they're there for. And just in that, like there's a level of connection that can open through people vulnerably admitting, I have this block, or I want more connection, I don't know how to feel. Like all of those things bring us closer together to be able to feel each other. And we talk about different principles, talk about so the philosophy of Om in a certain way, and then we share our stories. You actually see a demonstration of the practice too. So to master practitioners, where it's what you see is that orchestra feeling of like what's possible when a stroker's that tuned into a woman's body and can play her like music.
Yeah.
And so they get to viscerally feel and experience that. And then in the afternoon, we go step by step on like how to actually ask for an Om, how to set up the nest, how to, do each step to the Om so that they can viscerally in their body have that, they've seen a close-on demonstration of how that happens, that they can go home and practice, as well as do little like mingling exercises and get them out and connected in that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how often do you have those?
In LA, we generally have one a month, sometimes two a month.
Okay. Are they in other places, other states, or is it just predominantly?
We have them in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Austin, New York, London, Australia, and occasionally a few other places like Copenhagen, or so satellite places, but it's definitely global. Yeah.
Okay. And then you were mentioning that there is some other classes to dive in deep to healing and other dynamics. And are those day-long classes too, or what's the structure of them?
Those are weekend courses, so they're Friday evening, all day Saturday, and half day Sunday. And the healing course is really that foundation. It's like we need a certain level of internal safety in order to be able to open. And so, it's really teaching that deeper level of foundation and boundaries, and really how to be in relationship and an adult in taking responsibility in your life in a certain way in order to have that foundation that you can be in relationship with other people. Once you access that, then working with the desire course is like how to get. We have this whole desire cycle of like how do you even get in relationship with it, but then digest it in a certain way so that you can continue to expand and have more. Because most people have this ceiling on what they can have in their life. And so to work with that in order to be able to continue to raise the ceiling and like have more. So that's the desire course. And
I love how this is so much more than just a state of emotional and physical feelings and arousal, and I want to stress that point that, what you're sharing is about how this correlates to all aspects of one's life.
Right.
And when you really think about, what's the strongest pulling forces within a human being, it is that connection and partnership energy, as well as stability and financial energy, right? I don't think that there's anybody that, and then of course there's the spiritual connection as well. That's a very strong force for people. But a lot of people spend their lives consumed with how are they going to support themselves and pay bills or get ahead in life and succeed, and how are they going to create a family and desired connection, not just romantically, but friendships, community, and all of this.
Totally.
And it's looking at this energy that is in all of these aspects, and how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Exactly.
And I'm hearing this, I'm the paying attention closely or being more aware is, and then, desire in being able to feel desire and receive desire and experience desire, then you can allow for more joy and ease of other things to come to you freely. You know that you're more deserving of maybe, those financial things or trips to whatever, all the things that people want.
Truly. Yeah. It's that deeper inner workings that we get to touch and explore. And, because it's true, like you said, that deserving, it's like there is that, it's that reception. And so, in the practice, it's like we're actually physically even expanding that capacity to receive. And then all the work that we do in our courses and everything is really the deeper levels of how do you unlock these different parts of your soul and your psyche in a certain way to be able to have more and access that and do it in connection with other human beings. We know how to do certain, it's like the mountain top lifestyle of like, I'll just go do my spiritual practices in isolation and I'll feel really good, and I've got this meditation, and like when I'm in that meditation, I'm on top of the world. I know how to handle everything. But then how do you actually, the rubber meets the road in connection. Mm-hmm. And so who are you in the marketplace, not on the mountaintop?
Yeah. And
how do you do that in, this is our natural state, is to be connected. And we really truly don't have the tools in general to really know how to work with ourselves and be in relationship in that way.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
So once a month over here, sometimes twice a month for the beginner class, for people that want to learn and experience more and have that, 8-hour plus immersive
Mm-hmm.
type of awareness, vulnerability, and connectivity. And then there's these higher level courses, this healing, this desire. Is there anything above those? Besides, and then there's the coaching one that you mentioned, but another weekend long course?
We do. I mean, we have one taste. We actually have land now up above San Francisco, in which we'll do deeper, retreats, and we have these courses. They're called intensives, and so anywhere between like 3-5 day retreats to like these 6-7 day intensives where we have different topics like desire and wake up and healing and and relationship, all of these different topics where it's like you're living in a retreat style experience. Yeah. And like really, really doing deep immersion kind of work. So anywhere from local classes to this retreat style thing is available in that way. And then our coaching program, like the 7-month container.
So where can they find you?
OneTaste.us.
Okay.
And then for our local things in LA, we've got turnonla.us, which is a link to the meetup for the local events.
Okay.
So that you can just go to, we have these events on a weekly basis called Turn On.
Okay.
And they're, it's like $10 at the door. You come and we play like 3 communication games, which correlate to an OM in the sense of like having attention and connection and feel and in communication games. And so they're super, super fun. People come week after week, experienced people to brand new people come to like have that kind of play. And so those are, on a weekly basis, a way to come in and get to know us. And then you can also sign up online for the course if you just know you want to take a course and learn. That's onetaste.us.
That's amazing. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to leave with people before we wrap?
I think it's just like the willingness to admit desire and to do what it takes to have what, the deeper thing, like when in my story, when I was just like, I knew I was missing something, and it was just like I could live my whole life having that voice being back inside of me, like I'm missing something, and that thing that I was missing was something internal inside. That was something that when I looked at it, because I could blame my relationship for not having it. Mm-hmm. I could blame my partner for not having it, but the truth was I wasn't accessible for it. I had to do the work on my side to have it be that I could open and be accessible so that I could actually have that deeper thing that I wanted to be touched. And so, like that was one of the big lessons that I learned, but I didn't understand it for a very long time, because oftentimes people look at what is wrong with their life and it looks like an external something's wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's not that there's anything wrong, it's that there's these places inside of ourselves, and like how to admit that desire for something to open and do the work to have it. And so this practice is such a beautiful way to, it's just like any practice where you don't necessarily always want to do it. On some level you think, but it's genitals, of course you would want to do it. But it's like, no, there's times for sure. Like I don't want to lay down in the nest, and I don't feel open, and I don't want to open, and I don't want to receive. There's those blocks that come up, but it's like just to treat it like a practice, just like yoga or any other thing where you do that anyway, and you get to continue to practice that level of like opening and receiving, and for the stroker to practice getting in connection and feeling, and from that, it's just what is possible is it actually exists, and so. And that's what I learned. It was like I got to see in my previous relationship all the ways that he loved me and tried to love me that I couldn't feel, because I personally, I couldn't receive it. I couldn't have it. And so when I look at that relationship now, and of course it had to end so that I could go to this whole journey, but I can look back and say, like, it truly wasn't that there was something missing. It was like it was this part of me that couldn't receive what was actually available already there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
so much for sharing.
This was wonderful.
Thank you everybody for listening and having that open mind to dive into what is normally considered quite a taboo subject, but I hope that hearing and sharing really shines some light on all of the healing and transformation and the power that lies in with this work. Again, take a look at some of, we'll put some links on for how you can get a hold of that meetup and the website so that you can find both Rochelle and Orgasmic Meditation meetups and groups and things around the world and around the country and different things like that. If you like this episode, please leave us a comment and feedback. 5 stars would be great too. This allows people to find us more easily. The more reviews that we have on iTunes, the more people can have awareness to this podcast. So thank you for joining us, and until next time.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Thank you.